And here we go. Welcome to episode number 42 of You Had Me at Halo, where we talk about one of gaming's most storied franchises. And friends, it's been a couple weeks, and I guess a lot's happened. I missed last week. Yeah. I missed last week, but it sounds like I didn't miss much.
The day after that one, yeah.
Yeah, they waited until you guys went, and then all the news dropped. So obviously we didn't go right away, but we have a lot of things to catch up on, as we do have our update for the season 2, and we also have a TV show coming up. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well, to kind of see what the temperature in the room is on that right now. Are we going in with tempered expectations, or are they any higher than that? So we'll kind of get a feel for that. But before we get into some of today's topics, let's go ahead and meet today's panel. First off, I'm going to start off with Mr. Spartan Jesse, aka Mr. Down Cabeza. How you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing well. I'm just reading all the comments about people mad at me because I didn't love Tunic. How are you?
Oh, I didn't even see that. I haven't had a chance to see. What'd you give it? What'd you give it, Jesse?
7. I think everything about that game is either at or close to a masterpiece, except for the main thing you do 95% of the game, which is the combat, which is thoroughly mediocre.
Oh,
yeah, man. Especially coming off of like Elden Ring, like,
Are you sure? Are you sure you're not just an Xbox hater because it's exclusive?
Robot Man.
Oh my God! Hold on one.
Yeah, I know. This is part of the reason we went live so late. Abe keeps going to being a robot.
Yeah, could you guys send Forebear the link? He's trying to join us right now. There. Yeah.
Sure. Oh, you do that. So I don't have it.
Oh, the link? Yeah, give me a second.
Yeah. I don't have Discord open.
Yeah. Yeah, we have Spartan joining us here, jumping on the Warthog at the last second. Trying to grapple their way.
Everyone's honking the horn, just waiting and waiting.
I have not DM'd him yet. Give me a second.
I know everyone's furious because Master Chief shows his face in the show. I'm sorry to spoil it.
No way.
I know. Yeah. Very sad. Hello, Knottian. Hope your back's okay.
Where the heck is the... Oh, there it is. Oh, my God. No, it's in draft.
The moment we finished our last episode, and let me get him in here, and then immediately transfer us over to 4 people.
There he is.
Yeah.
What is up, everybody?
Oh, God. Okay.
Hello.
What is up? There we go.
My imagination of the warthog analogy was, rather than everyone honking, waiting, it was I like grapple in as everyone's running. I'm like falling on a cliff. I zoom up. I land in my seat. Here we go.
Nice. Great job.
All right, I'll stop.
We got a full squad. We thought we were going in 3 on. We thought we had a member AFK.
We were only 3 last time. It was scary.
Oh man, no, it's great to have you in here. So we'll go ahead and continue with the introductions just in time. So I guess making his graceful introduction into the panel. We got Mr. Spartan Austin, aka Mr. Forebear. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good. I had
I'm getting yelled at a lot, but I'm pretty good.
Oh yeah, because his tunic reveal. But yeah.
Would you end up dropping it? A 7, right, Jesse?
Be honest, the review read/watches kind of lower than a 7. Like, I read it and I'm like, yeah,
I was generous. I was 6.5 until I started going back over the lore, and then but that's Tunic. That's not Halo. Go.
All right. Well, next up my cat is just throwing shit on the floor as soon as I get on this podcast. Next up, we got Spartan Aarsal, aka Mr. Soulblazerz. How you doing, Spartan Aarsal?
Doing pretty good.
All right. And then finally, as your host today, Spartan Abe, aka Onebadmutha. So everybody, hopefully you got your your corned beef and cabbage in. It's St. Patty's Day, so
I had raviolis and pasta sauce.
You're just so uncelebratory.
I'm Irish too. Yeah. I mean, I've got booze. Does that count?
Oh man, yeah, I definitely had a chance to go ahead and get a few of those in there, and like I guess now's a good time to ask: is buzz podcasting the same as drunk podcasting?
I didn't know we could
Depends.
drink on
A
this
little
podcast.
buzz just makes things. Yeah, a little buzz. As long as you don't say it's alcohol, they're fine. This is just cola.
Okay.
There's no brandy in it. But yeah, buzzed is fine. Drunk is obvious. So
Okay,
you can be in a little good mood if you're buzzed. You're sloppy if you're drunk most of the time.
That sounds good. All right. Well, I appreciate you clearing it up, because apparently they don't let you eat. They don't let you eat the St. Patty's meal without a St. Patty's drink, because apparently the rules, at least in my neighborhood, I don't know how that is over there. But no, it's great to be back with the panel. It's it's been a couple weeks. It's been a few weeks for me. It's been 4 weeks for me, and Forbear, I know it's been a few weeks for you as well. And we got a couple things to catch up on. So I guess we can dive right into it. Right.
So you want to start with we had a couple things: the ranking stuff, which is kind of drier, and then the roadmap, which is kind of juicy. What do you want to start with?
You want to get the dry stuff out of the way?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get warmed up.
And we also could do the trailer. I can't show the video, but I can show still images of it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good option too. What do you want to start with?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's start with the ranking stuff. We'll just get that knocked out of the way.
So a few days ago, 343 released a pretty in-depth blog post talking about the ranking system, which is True Skill 2, which we've known for a while. And they also talked about True Match, which I didn't know that's what they use specifically, how to group people. It's pretty in-depth, but long story short, they're basically talking about how, in general, you have 2 ranks. Right, when you play a game, it's the same thing for any competitive game, right? You have the hidden MMR, and in this case, they call it just the MMR. Then you have your ranked, which in this case, they call your CSR, I think a career skill rank or something like that. I don't know. So your CSR is, your silver 1 plus 15, silver 2, 3, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Your MMR is another number, which determines how much your CSR goes up or down, depending on when you win and lose. Long story short, the game always moves your rank towards your MMR. So if you play a certain style, let's say you played really crap for like 8 of your placement matches, or you lost like 8 of your placement games that you played pretty well. So then the true skill to look at that, say, hey, this guy knows how to play. So his MMR is not that low, but his CSR, because he lost so much, might be like gold or something. And then you'll win a match and you'll get like plus 15, which is the max you can get. And you'll just fly through the ranks. That actually happened to me. I'm just saying. But until I hit diamond. I think the crux of it, though, and then the part that people... sorry, give me a second. Do you guys play ranked? Have you guys played?
No,
much of ranked?
yeah, that's where I put most of my 2,000 hours in Halo 5. Yeah, of course. So.
Specifically in Infinite, I should say.
I haven't since I think like the beginning of December. I played my placement matches and placed like Diamond 5 or Diamond 6, I think. No, I placed Diamond 5. I got up to Diamond 6, and then by the time that I had slowly like won a couple of games, lost a couple of games, got up to Diamond 6, the campaign came out, and then that was all I focused on at that point.
Okay,
I placed at Onyx 12, so I didn't need to play anymore.
Right.
How were the reason they even released this post is because a lot of people were complaining. By a lot of people, I should say, the people on one end of the spectrum were complaining a lot with their matchmaking.
AJC.
Yeah.
Right down.
And then there's always that long debate, right, between, I don't even know why it's a debate, to be honest, between skill-based matchmaking in general, where it's like, I just want to stomp people, and like stomping is fun. It's not fun being stomped. But sorry, I'm saying that's why they even released this, I feel like, in the first place, just to kind of address that, like how their system works. And I think like the most important part they talked about was that when they matchmake you in a game, right, True Match uses at least 4 of these things, which is average team skill gap, which means, yes, they try and make it so you don't have like an Onyx and like a Silver in the same team, unless they queue together, which happens and screws things up. Individual player skill gaps, latency of the data center, and the wait time for the matches. Right? So the issue is a lot of pro players and a lot of players on like the high end of the spectrum are complaining that they're playing matches where like they have to hard carry or they lose always. And admittedly, they don't. I've gone and like checked. Like for example, Snipe Downs. I went and checked his matches afterwards. So did Jagged on the Discord, and it's like, yeah, he won like 10 out of his last 16 games. So I'm not sure what he's talking about here. But okay, rather than me talking forever, what do you guys think about the aspect of skill-based matchmaking, even in like social playlists?
Needs to be a little bit of it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's so funny. People will make comparisons to like current Call of Duty or past Halo titles. Max Hoberman got on Twitter the other day and had a nice little thread about how they designed specifically competitive matchmaking for Halo 2 and 3.
Yes, yes.
And while obviously that's an older system, I think its bones are incredibly similar to this. I don't know. I think as far as casual goes, like Jesse said very plainly, you do need a little bit of it. Like at the end of the day, otherwise you're going to get those games where you're playing, Christmas newbies every day of the year, or you're running into like Optic on their like off chill days. And that's not fun on either side of that spectrum.
Yeah. Though it's definitely more fun for
play,
one side.
Especially.
Yes.
Because there's no barrier to entry. And like you can just get in, anyone can jump in. You need to have some skeleton of getting people into matches that should be fun. Because a really competitive match you lose is way more fun than getting stomped. It just by default.
Which is, I think, where I disagree with Max Hoberman a little bit. He had a tweet here, and I responded to a tweet. We actually had a little bit of a back and forth, where he's saying, somewhat contrary to the latest blog post, 343's, I didn't believe that perfectly balanced games were always the most fun. In fact, I felt they were often the most stressful, which is, according to him, the fundamental flaw in true skill. And I don't disagree with this when it comes to like more social playlists, like Fiesta or whatnot. But when it comes to ranked, balance has to be priority number one, in my opinion. The very last thing you want to do is spice things up and play against like a team that's significantly better than you just for the heck of it, and not in ranked.
That is one thing that hurt me in Titanfall 2, because I'm one of the crazies who I love Titanfall 1. I put way too many hundreds of hours into it, but I also really love Titanfall 2. But Titanfall 2 was so well balanced all the time that it was unbelievably stressful. And after like 3 matches, I was spent for the night.
Did it have like a specific ranked playlist, or was that like it throughout like
that was just regular? Like the ranked was more the pilot versus pilot, no Titans, no AI stuff. Yeah, which I never touched. But even just the regular attrition stuff in that was really stressful in a way that I haven't found Halo to be, even in ranked.
That makes sense. I literally have to I can only play like 2-3 ranked games at once because like my hands are shaking, and I'm like, okay, let me go play something a little more casual.
That's a little bit too serious.
Every damn ranked game I play is within like 3 or 4 points. I either win or lose, so it's always to the wire.
I only did 10 ranked matches before I, placed Onyx 12. So they were fine. I played them all back to back.
Oh my god!
I think it's super super interesting that like at least from my experience with Infinite. Now, to be fair, guys, I haven't played multiplayer in 2 or 3 months at this point, but I feel like it goes in terms of like how competitive it can feel, at least at times, is obviously arena and then social and then even big team battle. Yeah. I think definitely falls in third there, but I think it's more about map design than skill of the typical player that you run into. I do feel like even BTB, I ran into a couple of games that were like, oh, so this isn't, a 12 stack or whatever, but it's definitely a group of people that know how to play big team.
When they take all the stockpiles at once, like bonds, and you're like, what?
You see like 2 or 3 dudes like hitting it with the repulsor. You're like, oh, you guys know what you're doing.
And your team's all hanging out at their base trying to get kills.
Yep. Speaking of big team battle, they mentioned specifically that so this true match is the most strict for ranked, and then less strict for more modes like big team battle. Yeah, which makes sense. I recently I played like 2 nights ago. I played a match. I was with my brother, who's pretty good, and we played big team battle, and like this dude got a nightmare, and he wasn't even trying. He had a flipping nightmare's 25 kills without dying, and he just had a battle rifle. He's like, that's it. It's like these guys are literally bots. They don't know how to play.
They're like stormtroopers. Yeah, there is times where it feels like you're playing against stormtroopers, and there's times you feel like you are the stormtroopers.
I played a
regular robot again.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. You're not.
No, you're good there. I played a regular player match against just like cute friends that don't really play the game too often, and I will tell you right now, the people I was up against didn't know you can jump when a ghost is charging you. Literally, I think I got 8 kills in a row because they just didn't jump. I even like stopped accelerating because I'm like, okay, they're gonna jump now, and I'll try and get them on the land. No, they just kept shooting at me.
So yeah, I think it's. I've heard some similar stuff. I think it's an interesting balance because for what coming into it, I thought it was a no-brainer that you just want to have things be even because if you have new players come in and they get smashed, they're not going to want to play again, and that's how are you going to make Halo inviting? But then you've heard from a lot of people that are competitive or very good, and they were more frustrated, right? And so I think that's kind of the interesting balance because like I just think I know this is a completely unrelated game I don't even play, but I remember Sea of Thieves blew up because a bunch of guys like to go on their PCs and just wreck things and stream it, right? And that helped it blow up, because you got streamers that were just excited to go on there and just show off and dominate and and so like that does help the streamability of the game. It helps people that like to stream stuff jump in there, I think. And so when that opportunity is kind of taken away and every game is super competitive, no matter who you are, no matter how good you are, it's hard to show off how good you are, right? So I get it from that standpoint, from a selfish standpoint, though. I don't know, like it just seems obvious that you want it to be balanced. I feel bad when I have like people that jump in, like I try to get people, friends that don't play it all the time. Hey, let's just get on here and just play big team battle, and they're like 3 and whatever, like 3 and and 100 or whatever, like that's just not that's not a good experience for anybody. And so you want to grow the base, and I feel like how are you going to get people on the starter end of it to stay with it, which is what I think they want to do. But I think that does take us to like another. The challenge. I think the challenge really isn't the matchmaking. I think it's right to keep it balanced or to keep it matched fair. I think the challenge they're having right now is they don't have the other modes to kind of.
Yes, they're lacking on social casual modes for the most part. Yeah.
For sure. I think that something that this game needs severely, something that I was honestly surprised about when it launched that wasn't there, especially with it being a free-to-play game, is not a like training mode. Like the one that I specifically remember is Halo 3. You had to play in only that playlist as far as like social games go, outside of like party modes and things like that, until you had 7 XP, which was at least 7 wins.
Not gonna lie, I think I kind of remember that, and I didn't like it. Anytime where like games limit me from playing, it kind of pisses me off.
No, I think that's fair too. I think it's difficult to like. I feel like nail down a good balance there because you want people to see like
to be fair, if they play on their own, they'll be matched with other new players. You know what I mean?
Right.
At least that's been my experience with when my friends are playing, like just on their own. Like I see their matches, I check it afterwards, and like they're even Halo 5. A friend completely new to Halo, completely new to it. We played through the entire series, I think like 2 years ago, and he started playing just Halo 5 on his own. And he got, I progressively saw him go from like a complete newbie to like legitimately pretty decent in the game. And I was kind of surprised. I'm like, because my experience is when I play MCC, I get either dominated or I dominate, especially with like CE. God,
I feel like Halo 3 had an implementation there in that way, probably because it was easier to derank down to basically 0. So I'm sure that super good players were just padding their KDs like crazy going into like fresh lobbies.
There was just again a couple of days ago, I was playing, right? And it ended up being a pretty close game, like 50-45, I think SWAT. And my teammates were like, oh man, that was such a close game. I don't know how we won. I checked the score. They have like 6 kills, 7 kills. I have like 32. And I'm like, that's how we won, dude. Like we were gonna lose otherwise. But I feel you.
That's an interesting thing, though. You mentioned like having to play a bunch of games to before you can jump into the rank. And the one thing that I think Halo is going to continue to have a challenge balancing out is now that it's free to play, people can start new accounts anytime they want.
Yeah.
We know, Smurfs are, Smurfs like to just grief newbies.
Yep.
You start a brand new account, play bad for a few games, and then you just kind of go to town on them. And so,
Right.
I think that's going to continue to be. It'll be interesting to see if they can balance that. But that was an issue even in Halo 5. People were still finding free accounts and still doing the Smurf account thing regularly. So I'm going to guess that it's going to be like those guys got to be just loving it now. It's free to play, right? And they can just do unlimited accounts without any.
Yeah, you were tied to game sharing or Game Pass before, but now it just doesn't matter. You can automatically. Just get on a new account.
I can just make a fresh Steam account, fresh Xbox Live account, and I'm good to go.
Right.
One thing,
and it doesn't take that long to make those either.
Like 2 seconds. I know this because I may or may not have abused it to get a bunch of Game Pass months way back in the day. But one thing I did want to mention is when it comes to the extreme spectrum, like the pros, when they queue up, the honest truth is, and this is going to sound kind of bad, but it is what it is. The system is not designed for them. It's not designed for the top 1% of the 1% of the players.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it can't be designed for them. It really can't. I think of other games and like League of Legends I've played a lot of, right? And how they did it. And I feel like this might be the only real way to do it is they had like 15-minute queue times per match. If you were at a certain level of skill, your queue time was just 15 minutes long because it was waiting for you to find that match that should be balanced. And even then, a bunch of complaints. So I don't take this specific complaint from Pros too seriously, matchmaking, because it's like, hey, man, the system's not made for you. Like, it really is.
Right.
Especially not when you have people that pad their things. I know someone who's like 2300 Onyx, and why? Because they play with the silver every time they play, right? Just to kind of bring it down.
Yeah, well, that also encourages you to play with, all kinds of people.
Yeah.
So who is Mike playing with that's so good?
Though I guess it should be fair to say that throughout this entire blog they kept repeating, we're still looking at things, we're still fine-tuning, it's not perfect, we're still trying to make it work, right? So
yeah, and none of the systems have been perfect. I mean, Max even talked about Halo, the Halo 2-3 ranking system and how unbalanced it was at parts of the system and things like that. It was interesting though, like with all of those games that I did in 5, I was nearly 50% on.
How many hours did you play 5?
Oh, over 2,000. Yeah. In case nobody
did you
ever
get to play with a dev though? I was wondering.
Yeah. Yes.
And the word Sandbox.
Well, come on! Like, I can't believe you give me shit for saying Sandbox. Like that. Everybody knows. Everybody has to say Sandbox when they talk about Halo.
I call it the litter box now, personally.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It's just an anecdotal experience, but my Halo 3, I think, literally not prevented me, but like it scared me away from online gaming for like a few years. I didn't play online at all the time. I played a bunch of split screen Halo, like almost every night with my brothers or friends. And then I got like a trial of Xbox Live Gold, and I'm like, oh my God, finally, we're going to play online. I played it, and I got slapped so badly. For like that full week, I'm like, what is happening? I thought I was good, and I was when I played with my brothers. But online, it's just... Since then, it took me to like Halo 5 to get back into online.
It's honestly, it's not even a bad anecdote. I think Halo, more than as much as any franchise, has like this crazy skill gap. You'll play against people locally, and you'll think that you're ready for the pros, and you get online, and you're like, oh my God. I remember I do remember coming back. I told you guys before, I took like a few years off of gaming, and I didn't play online for a bunch of years, and I came back, and Halo 5 was the one that kind of brought me back online, and I was so frustrated early on. I was like, I used to be good at this game. I went on. That's when I bought glasses. Like I sat up really close to them. I got a monitor. I set it up real close. I'm like, I needed like everything. Like I was like, I'm not this bad. I know it. And I do think that if there is skill gaps, they show in Halo more than almost any other game. It feels like in a lot of other games you can kind of hide it in some way, shape, or form. It's really difficult to hide, at least with the base game, which maybe this is a good transition because right now Halo has a limited amount of, it has some amount of content, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it might be geared towards people that are pretty good at Halo or that want to play competitively in Halo right now. Maybe that's a better way to say it, right? And so I think that's maybe bringing in some of the challenge. But all right, so let's move over to season 2. They were kind of have their say there. So I think you have.
I'll just be really quick because it's been almost 2 weeks. So one thing I did want to read out though, the whole thing, which is this part here, is where they say, we also have a priority 0 that undergirds everything we do, namely team health, with an emphasis on getting ourselves into a sustainable development rhythm so that we can deliver great experiences to all of you while keeping a healthy work-life balance. This means that we sometimes need to move slower so that we can move faster later. Frankly, these last few months have been slower than we expected, and we thank you for your patience. So that's the very first thing they said, and I feel like it doesn't get brought up enough because people just kind of go, oh yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
If we really want, and again, I'm not saying they are, no one can say whether 343 hasn't crunched or isn't crunching at all, or if it's even better than it was before, other than people in there. But assuming it is, because that's what they're saying, it's going to take longer. And this goes for any game throughout the entire industry,
Yeah. It was easy when you could just stand over them with the whip and say you're going to sleep under your desk, like we saw with the Halo 2 documentary, right?
Yeah.
That's how we're going to make the game and get all the content out. When you don't have that in your bag of tricks, it does require you to be.
At the end of the day, this is a video game, right? And the way just in general labor or workforce in general is moving towards more of a pro workforce, environment. I feel like in general, the world is kind of moving there. Maybe it's slower than people would like, but in general, if they don't reach these sustainable paces, then the whole industry burns and crashes, when it reaches that point.
Well, not just that, things have changed a lot in the last couple of years. And personally, as somebody who does root for the developers, I think it's a good thing. Demand since COVID has increased. The demand for developers has increased drastically. And, it's because gaming, the value of gaming increased drastically all across the world.
So much.
And so, and so right now, where a lot of these companies were sitting, let's say, 3-4 years ago, where it just felt like they kind of had these guys by the tail. And it's when you're working 70 hours a week and, you're just too tired to even update your resume and go and interview. And, in those situations, the things have changed, right? The demand for them's changed. It's a lot easier for, if they go do that work, it's a lot easier for them to leave if they want to. Remote work has changed everything. You can be in the US and go work for somebody in the UK now, or somebody else, right? You don't have to, speaking of that, one of the guys from the initiative went over to work for Ninja Theory, who's in the UK. Speaking of that example, right? I follow him on Twitter, and I remember when he left the initiative, along with a few other people, he popped up again under Ninja Theory, a few months later. And so it just kind of goes to show you just how different that landscape is. So I would say that, that priority 0, even though it does look like something that's for the gamer, well, this is just, excuses, but whatever. It's important to the long term of this, for them to actually establish a culture where people actually want to come there and work, and they can keep people. They're going to need to. It's not just the right thing to do; it's also just a good business thing to do, right?
Yep.
It's a good thing for the long term of the game. So I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, what else would you want to say on that?
Did you guys want to comment? I thought maybe you were saying something.
I like workers' rights.
If I can just quickly sprinkle on top of that, I think the entire workforce across the aisle is completely changed. The landscape for people who actually work jobs has changed a lot in the last 2 years. People, it's crazy to me that it took COVID, it took a pandemic for people to realize that, like, not only does their work have value, but like their time has value.
Right.
And you saw so many people, especially I'd say the first third of everything really happening, like just quitting their jobs because why do I want to risk my life for this right now? It's not worth it. Right. So you see that ripple effect start, I feel like, primarily in something like food service, and then in retail, and then it hit everything. It hit the games industry. It hit like literally everything. So I think it's great. I love seeing more and more game studios pushing for unions. I think the games industry is one that should unionize, and I understand that there are arguments against it. That's obviously
I don't think anyone would argue QA should unionize. You know what I mean? That should be like a no-brainer in general.
I mean, I think everybody that works in games should unionize, period. Unless you're in charge of making sure that $1 billion company doesn't go underwater, then yeah, you should totally be a part of a union, man.
At that point, you can argue software dev in general and like why they don't unionize, and because they can, whatever. That's a whole different topic.
It gets complicated, but on the whole, there were many decades of corporations doing their best to make people think that unions were evil.
Oh,
sure, there are bad unions
so
out
much
there,
propaganda out there against it.
Yeah. There's been some very bad negative things associated with unions, but on the whole, the value of workers' rights in America just took a massive nosedive in the last, 40 plus years. And you don't have any protections. Like, other countries look at what happens in this country in particular and are just shocked by how little rights any worker has. It's
literally a teaching point in some economics classes. Like, hey, here's how not to run a business. It's virtually any blanket American company.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to kind of like, sprinkle more on top of it, but that's that, until you have that, this is probably the closest thing that they've had for a while because of the we'll keep sprinkling. We'll see what this what this meal ends up tasting like after all the different spices. But yeah, I mean, like you this is really the first time I can think of for this industry where developers or the workers have felt disempowered, right? Oops, and my camera.
No more camera for you. Oh, you're back.
I knocked it out. But it's really the first time in like that I can ever think of that they really now the ball's in their court. It's a good thing. But every developer now has to be mindful of that. They can't just, we've heard the stuff with Activision, right? That, it's currently, obviously, hopefully Microsoft, gets that deal closed. But that's, one of the issues they were having is they couldn't hire enough people for Call of Duty. So they got the guys who are making Crash Bandicoot to make Call of Duty because they couldn't bring people in because people don't need to deal with your shit anymore. If you're just a shitty, if you got shitty bosses, you got a toxic work culture, and so crunch is obviously one of the top of the minds. And we know 343, and it's not just 343. I'm not singling them out, but across the board, AAA development. We know it's Sony Studios too. It's across the board, and they've had that history. And I think it's okay that they're going to go through this phase now where they're going to be like, we got to figure out the balance, and maybe we even overcompensate, whatever. But it's important for them to do that, and I think what Staten was saying makes sense in that regard.
Like I was
there's a secret I want to get out there real quick. Toys for Bob was secretly renamed Toys for Bobby Kotick, and no one knew. And so that's why he just uses them however he wants.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm playing Elden Ring. Everyone's playing Elden Ring, and multiple times throughout while I'm playing, I'm like, man, just how the heck did they make this game this big, this quickly? And I mean, the answer is the video game industry. Crunch, right? And it really is. There's talent, of course, involved, but a big part of it's also just insane work hours. Austin, you mentioned a point, and just a one line, and it rang true with me because you had said people who actually work, right? And I feel like, and this is going to sound pretty privileged, and it is in many ways, it is, but like, as someone who's been a student for basically my entire life, right? I've only worked full-time, maybe a few years, right? But even then, like just 40,
that's why you look so young.
42, 43 hours, and I'm dead, man. Like I'll come home and like, I know, right? That's what I'm saying. It's just pretty.
That was like part time for me, man. Like when I've got my 40, I remember when I got my first 40-hour job like a decade ago. I was man, it feels like I'm not even working. Like I came from, I guess, other industries, not game development, but it was like it felt like crunch culture. Basically, it's described as crunch culture, where you just had no life, and so 40 hours felt like.
I'm saying like even 40, and I was dead. Right. And I feel like a lot of people who are complaining online about why aren't they taking so long? Why are they taking so long? What are they doing? Crunches, whatever. It's not a big deal. I don't think they even work 40 hours, man. You know what I mean?
Well, they can't. They're in this. We know they don't because they're in spaces on Twitter all fucking day. Nobody allows you to do that if you have a real job.
It's just 40 hours.
I wouldn't mind 40 hours, but Sick Mechanico keeps hitting me if I don't hit at least 60 hours.
If 40 hours is already killing me, I can't even imagine what 60, 70, 80 does to people. That's
right.
It's blowing my mind.
Fun.
You know what I mean?
Well, you know, and it's not just that too. Let me actually add something else. And I know we're spending a lot of time on this, like not some of
it's
the
a pretty important subject.
Yeah, no, but anybody who's like, somebody who's on the other side of Soul and has like worked a lot and spent a lot of hours in there. It's not
2,000 hours, in fact.
Yeah, I worked 2,000 hours in Halo 5, and I'm still waiting for my payoff. The thing is, it's not even just. I would say it's not even just the amount of hours. For some people, that's fine. Like I'm probably one of those people that was just wired. I could probably.
The intense pressure that would come with something like that.
Yeah. The thing is it's the pressure, it's the constantly feeling like you've never hit your deadline, no matter what you could put in 70 hours and you feel like you needed another 40 to hit your goals that week. That is like, to me, that is the most draining. And it zaps you of your creativity, it zaps you of just your energy and like just, like everything that kind of so developing a culture, it's not just about getting the balance right there.
Yeah.
They have to figure out how to balance things with the deadlines, with the expectations. And, again, we're going to talk about this as consumers. As I know it's not our job. They have to figure that out, how to balance that thing, how to do both, like make it right for the employees, but also, meet the expectations of the market. But that is something that, that they will have to continue to figure out. Yeah. They'll have to make sure that, people that are there are not going to be constantly feeling like they just cleared, I don't know what the good example is. I always think of like True Lies, like Arnold Schwarzenegger flying up in the helicopter with everything blowing up behind him, with what's her name, holding off by the end of the rope.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
With the fire. Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis holding by the end of the rope. Like, I feel like that's what game development always is. And like, even when you talk to people that have been in it, it's like it's like, even when the games are great, whether they're great or they're not great, they're always like, by the end of the rope, flying out while everything's blowing up around them, and
even if they don't make it out on time and they get caught in the explosion, they still just have to dust off and keep going.
Keep going again, and it's a repeating cycle, right? And so that's just never a good. That's not a sustainable thing. It's not going to be how you're going to keep your people. So we know that they had that culture. They now have to go through that transition, rebalance it, and figure now.
It plays into the whole Perfect Dark discussion where Microsoft really seems committed to having so many devs that individual developers can take their time.
Yeah,
and that definitely seems to be the case so far with 343. Not during the beginning of Halo Infinite, but now that they have so much and they're about to add so much more in Activision Blizzard, and that doesn't even preclude them from adding more. That these companies, these devs, they can take their time. Like Starfield had been pinned supposedly 2020, then it was pinned 2021. And then they're like, no, you just take your time. Don't worry about it. And he's like, and then Todd came to me and he's like, we're going to do 2022. He's calling his shot. He's like, he knows they've got this time, November 11th, 2022. It's a very different culture that I think is far healthier overall for the industry if they hit it.
Yeah.
And they need their amount of money and backing to be able to hit it, because video games have always been so tenuous that if you just don't get as much shit out as you can and have one thing really hit, or have a bunch of things kind of hit, then it all just falls apart. And you have like your Acclaims and all these different companies that just can't keep it up no matter how hard they crunch. but you have someone that's worth $2 trillion that sets you as an actual pillar of the company, and you get full backing for the first time. It's the one time you can just say, fudge it, take your time. Don't worry about it. We've got 60 projects in development. Halo, if you're going to take a little time to start up, guess what? That's pretty goddamn normal in the AAA friggin' free-to-play space. None of them start well. What did it take? But Destiny was an up and down, non-stop for years. It would be good, and then it would be bad, and then finally it's hit really good. But it's 5 years into Destiny 2 when it's hit the best part of it. It's like people get used to that, and they come back. Yeah.
We're 5 years in.
I mean, it's Jesse. That was something that I was planning on touching on at some point. I know in our discussion tonight, but like
you can touch all over me in my point.
Sprinkle all over your
right.
Jesse,
You're 100% right. It's like live service games never launch well. Destiny certainly did not. Halo Infinite has had a rocky twice in a row did not launch well. And it took from in my opinion, getting out from under Activision and allowing themselves to be able to delay projects, to be able to delay an expansion. The first time it was a couple of weeks, the next time it was about a month or so, and then with the Witch Queen they delayed it like 6 months, and my God, did it pay off? It's that kind of stuff. Like obviously Bungie during that time was an independent entity. Not exactly the same thing, but like you said earlier, when you have investment, when you have people to back you up and that believe in your vision and that believe in the product that they're making enough to say, you know what, take the time you need. We don't need this to hit some fiscal date. We know that it's going to make dividends whenever it finally arrives. So just like do whatever you want with it. As long as it is actually a quality product.
Exactly. Like, I'm sure there's still milestones and checks and whatnot, right? Like
100%.
There always are. They're not going to let you sit there doing nothing.
Yeah, like that was the perfect Dark thing. They weren't hitting milestones. They were having some issues. There's too many, cooks in the kitchen type thing. Now they've got an idea. They've got one of my personal favorite devs in the entire freaking industry on it, being led by a guy who knows those devs really well.
Not cheap. Like those devs, you know what I mean? That was a big investment.
Yeah, like they're really showing a confidence in, we are hiring the best creatives we can. We are going to trust them to make what they want. And I know the clicks come from saying everything's on fire and it's all going to hell in a handbasket. But it's like, Halo hasn't been out that long compared to most of the things that are very successful and have constant content. Apex Legend was unbelievably successful when it started and took
Fortnite was
so long.
Tower defense game.
Well, this is the thing we've talked about. So actually, I want to ask you, Forebear, because I know that you do a Destiny podcast, correct? Like you've been part of the community for a long time. Feel free to plug yourself on that. But like you've been part of that. I have not. Like I'll just be honest. I've never been into the battle royale. I know that Fortnite launched as a failed AA tower defense game that somehow
it was actually pretty fun.
No, like a lot of, from what I understand, a lot of Fortnite fans are actually still bummed out that the tower defense thing got shelved. But
it was really okay.
Go on, Abe. Keep singing my praises.
But no, I wanted to get some, your viewpoint, because I think you've stuck with the live service thing a lot. Like that's really where you put a lot of your time in, right? Like, and even with Master Chief Collection, you were there, on the PC a lot, and you kind of saw how that grew. And
your games as a Forbes.
Oh my God! Well, let's just keep going over that. So I want to get your opinion on this because as somebody who does not have that experience, like I'm making assumptions from the outside. Did you see so obviously we've seen what Twitter looks like over the last few weeks. We've seen the Halo community. You've probably seen them. We've seen them over the last 20 years.
Aarsal still goes in r/Halo because he's a dummy.
I honestly, I just like grabbed the paper clips and the like curling irons and just prep myself to get absolutely annihilated anytime I decide to flip through that subreddit. But anyway, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Abe. What were you saying?
No, so I want to ask you.
I'm not going to interrupt you, Abe.
So with Destiny, so obviously I think I vaguely remember Destiny fans kind of being pretty shitty to Bungie as well. So with these ups and downs, so like we saw like lately, it's like the last thing from what I understand, the last DLC from Bungie was very well received, right, by the community. Mm-hmm. When these things when they go through these lulls, how much does that really matter in the big picture? Is it really just about delivering the quality at the end of the day, or do you find that they really do lose a lot of people that never come back when they go up and down like that?
So that's a great question. No. The funny thing is like, as frustrated as like someone like myself who is a Halo fan that is frustrated by the lack of content that we have at launch, and then even when I was seeing some of this stuff for season 2, I was like, only 3 modes, only 2 maps. At the end of the day, like, these slower moments don't actually matter, because especially with something like Infinite that is free to play, especially once Destiny went free to play. Like, Destiny has seen 12 million new users since it went free to play, and a surprising amount of those players are consistent players. It's not anything crazy. I wouldn't even expect it to be in the 40% range. But when you have a free-to-play game that all it takes is a few clicks to download it and you're playing, a high retention rate is always going to be a little bit impressive. I think the interesting thing to see will be like the cadence with which Halo Infinite has large-scale releases, right? Like, Destiny will obviously lose players throughout the year, every year, no matter how good the expansion is or how bad the expansion is. Obviously, the quality of that expansion will determine how many people fall off, how quickly they fall off. But if you know, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. I don't want to set false expectations. But let's say Infinite is on like an annual cadence. Hey, here are 3 or 4 seasons a year. Here's an annual release. It's a little bit of campaign DLC. It's a little bit of multiplayer stuff. Here's like the big release to get you really excited about playing Halo again. I think that's a tact that has worked for Bungie for 8 years now. Yeah. Especially, and like 343 is already positioned better. Like their live games director, who's unfortunately not with 343 anymore, went back to Bungie, used to be Bungie's live game director, and is again now. But understands like lulls in content are going to happen, especially when avoiding a crunch culture. Like Destiny just had a 6-month season. It was the longest we've gone without content since Destiny 1. Infinite's obviously experiencing something incredibly similar right now. I would be blown away if you don't see a lot of these people that are posting on r/Halo or on Twitter or wherever, like, oh, Halo's dad, like, that you don't see a massive amount of them come back at least to check out the content. And that's all 343 really has to do, because eventually they're going to hit a stride with the game with it being a live service, where they put out a content release that is surprisingly engaging to these people that have stopped playing. Is like, oh, well, I didn't expect campaign co-op to be cool, or oh, whoa, Forge, this is crazy. I'm a wannabe game dev, and like that's a way harsher term than I mean it to be. But like I want to be a game developer. I want to work on Halo when I grow up, or in my near future. Forge is a great place to start doing that. We see a lot of people. We see people on our own team that are just forgers that get to work with cool projects like this. I think that I can ramble on about it forever. I think when comparing Infinite to Destiny, Infinite is in a way better starting point. Obviously, any live service game, we already touched on it a little bit, Jesse, was any live service game that launches is never going to launch in a great spot. It's unavoidable. There are things that cannot be foreseen in development. Once the game is pushed live and in the wild and there's millions of people playing it, obviously, an hour of a live game is going to outclass any amount of QA you can do, unless you hire 1 million people to do QA. Like, things are always going to be broken. If anyone downloaded Halo Infinite's multiplayer on November 15th and went, I can't wait to play a perfect, like, content-rich experience, you were like kidding yourself. At the end, like, that's all there is to it. Infinite has nowhere to go but up from here. I'm super excited to see what all season 2 holds. I'm pumped. Like, it's dumb, right? But like, as a Halo fan who hasn't played Infinite multiplayer in months now, I can't wait to play King of the Hill. I'm kind of excited to play King of the Hill. I'm excited to check out the other 2 modes. When co-op comes back, like, that'll be when I play through the campaign again with a buddy or with my brothers or whatever. Like, it's all about just being patient. And guess what? Even though it's a live service game, this doesn't have to be the thing that life. Like, go play Elden Ring, go play Tunic, go play Destiny.
Go play any of the 9 billion things they keep putting out on Game Pass.
Right, like, oh my god. Like, go play any Microsoft first party, go play any indie title that was just announced yesterday. Like, there's so much you can do. Halo will always be there for you. I promise. It is still 20 years later. I can still boot up Halo CE and play online multiplayer, which that blows my mind after having played it when I was a kid, and that wasn't even a possibility. Like, it's always going to be around, man. Like, if you want to be excited about a thing, if you want to be upset about a thing, that's totally fair. Please do. I spent my fair amount of time being livid with Bungie about, like, oh, I can't believe we have to go 8 months without new content. You fools, you don't know what you're doing. And then like, they feed it directly into my face, and I'm like, oh, this is the best thing ever.
All these crafting currencies suck on this stupid table. Oh, you're getting rid of them. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, right, exactly. And like, once 343 has had more experience developing a live service game, they will be able to react to things faster.
And they're very obviously paying attention, and they very quickly react outside of when they took a Christmas break and then came back. That was the one time they
are always going to be limitations. Like, when Bungie had to rebuild Destiny 2's engine in year 3 so that they could backdoor patch things that wouldn't take the whole game offline. Like, little things like that are like, that sound obvious to somebody who plays a live service game or plays a video game. It sounds like an obvious thing to think about, but it's not always as easy as it sounds.
Yeah,
kind of like Halo trying to put in a couple more playlists and having the game break for 2 months.
Right. Like people were like, oh, it's so easy, and then they did it. And people were like, oh, why is it broken? It's like, dude, you like forced their hands.
Yeah.
Anyway, I feel like I droned on about that.
Yeah, no, that's actually a great tangent to.
Coming in, I honestly didn't even know like where are you going to go with it, because like I said, I really don't have any expectations or experience.
I will say 2,000 hours of a live service game. Halo 5 was a live service game.
No, Halo, they didn't update. They barely updated it. I mean, they supported it.
I mean, to be fair, I'll play the Abe card. Like, in the last 8 years of Destiny, I've hit around 4,000 total hours.
Oh, somebody one up to me. This is bullshit.
Like,
who let him on?
My point is like, oh my god, guys! I wish I'd recorded some of those conversations I had with people. Like, Bungie's inept. I can't believe they ever worked on Halo. Like, all this stuff that I'd said almost a decade ago. Like, it's ridiculous. Like,
those are the kind of
know
people
what they're doing, man.
That are like 3,000 hours played in Steam, 1 out of 10 not recommended. It's like,
oh no, I have a friend on my Steam friend list who does not recommend Destiny 2 on Steam, and it has like 6,000 hours on Steam.
I might be the worst one here. I think I've got 225 days played in World of Warcraft.
Ooh,
I mean, yeah,
I would never tell anyone to play it. It's
a phantom, bro.
Well, and that's the thing, is like, it's not necessarily like live service games that interest me. These days it's MMOs and games like Destiny that like, it's so funny because for 10 years, I feel like from like 2006 until 2016, hilariously, was like, all I wanted to do was play PvP all day long, nonstop. And then like, I did a Destiny raid. I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, are you serious? It's like, it's as hyper competitive as PvP as anything I would ever want out of PvP. But like, I get to shoot cool looking aliens and stuff. Neat. And like, I the PvP thing has just never been super appealing to me since then. But like,
especially
Halo Infinite has some. Halo Infinite has some interesting potential as far as PvE content goes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The amount of scripting and everything you can do in Forge has me very excited for 2025 when it launches.
It's literally Unreal Engine blueprints. It's crazy.
So we've all kind of dug in, right? Like, we've all kind of seen this, the videos, the leaks.
Yeah.
the leaks on Forge.
I picked John's brain. He hasn't said anything.
Yeah, he won't say anything, guys. So like, don't come after John for anything we say. He literally says he won't even talk about Halo to us because he knows.
He'd have to kill you if he told you anything.
It's legal. And we don't. Yeah, he doesn't want to. And it's a bad look for XboxEra if he starts killing people. That work there, but so that that's kind of an interesting. We'll get back to the season 2 stuff here in a minute. It's like we went off on this tangent, but might as well just stay there. What the hell? Yeah. It's been a couple weeks. It's been 4 weeks for me. And I've been listening to a lot of the takes and stuff like that, and I'm like, it's like when I first saw it. So like when I first saw season 2, I was like, that's less than I thought. Like I remember early out with Halo 5. I think they dropped maps pretty quickly early.
You want to just quickly go over what season 2 is? So while we're talking about it, just
go ahead. Let's go ahead.
It's just all season 2 is just starts May 3rd. It's 2 maps, 1 big team battle, 1 arena, 3 game modes, of which we know the names. One of which is King of the Hill, the other is Last Spartan Standing, and Land Grab. And that season, and also, a new season pass called Lone Wolves. A couple things were shown, and
a really cool looking core armor in the Fracture.
Yeah, straight out of Warhammer right there. That looks amazing. But anyways, that is what season 2 is. In case you didn't know, 2 maps, 3 game modes, new armor,
and co-op eventually. At some point in season
co-op. Some point in season 2.
Leave that out.
Probably June. I want to say maybe July.
4. It's still confirmed to be 4-player co-op, right? Or not confirmed?
I think so.
Yes,
I think it's 4-player network co-op, 2-player only split screen.
Yes.
Okay.
4-player network, 2-player split screen. It says it right in it.
I mean, in the game, you can see the 4 little station things. There's no way they would make it only 2.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if anything changed. I know that was like the initial intent.
Yeah, right.
4 players, like that could be pretty cool.
yeah, it could be.
Well, I wonder how many
when you
enemies
think about I think we talked about it right around launch, or maybe even a little bit before launch. I couldn't imagine having to deal with the nightmare that is a player is over here starting a campaign mission, and player is over here doing this, essentially a dungeon, like that. Of course they needed more time to work on the campaign co-op for this. Of course it wasn't ready on time. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah,
and it being that big and having to get it all to sync properly when everything especially across friggin' VCR Xboxes and
especially when their melee don't sync.
I had a super long. I went to our Halo last night, maybe the night before, and I had a bunch of discussions. Yeah, I don't know why.
You masochist.
Soul tries to make sure he stays in touch with the community.
Basically, at the end of the day, though, 15 comments deep, we came to understanding, so it worked out. But basically, my point was listen, if they really had a hardcore deadline, right? Let's say it wasn't Microsoft, another company, nope, you need co-op there at launch. They would have gotten something out. They would have just put something together.
Yeah, he said they had a rudimentary system. They just didn't want to put out a rudimentary system.
It probably would have sucked, but it would have been there. But the whole point is they don't want to release something that's not up to the standards they want it to be, which is good. That's a good thing. Yes, it's been delayed.
Halo co-op was very fun. Halo co-op was very broken and laggy and shitty most of the time if you're playing network.
I mean, it's fun to play 15 frames, but so 4 players coming. And overall, again, I'll be very, transparent. When I saw it, when I first read it, I'm like, ooh, I already was envisioning Reddit on fire at the moment I was reading the update, because, and I think that, bringing this kind of back to this interesting spot that 343 is in, it's not that you're just dealing with the expectations of live service fans that are maybe coming to this from Apex, from other games because it's free to play now, but you're dealing with expectations of Halo fans. And as a Halo fan, and this is where I come from, I'm not a live service expert. As a Halo fan, I expect you kind of expect certain things from Halo, right? And not just at launch, but then even 3 months later you get, or whatever, months later you get a full map pack with all these maps, and the game feels pretty much complete at that point in time, 6 months later. And I had to step back, because initially I was like, okay, let me take this in. I wasn't and I think if we would have jumped on the podcast and read that out loud that day, I would have been but then some of these rumors have been coming out on Twitter this week, and it's this year they might have not only that big Forge mode you're talking about, but a campaign, and then they're working on a big
Warzone equivalent thing,
a Warzone equivalent,
and
it's okay, so so let's like step back and stop thinking about like, and I know this is hard, but I'm trying like kind of going through like my mindset on this. It's like you think about it in that kind of context. What if a year from now, like this sounds like a lot of stuff to push out in the first year, but let's just hypothetically say even a year and a half from now, you have a big Warzone equivalent. You have a Forge that now you have the scripting and you got people doing crazy ass shit that they've never done in a multiplayer community created content before on a console. You have that going on, and you have like the possibilities, with all that stuff. You have like, now with the next campaign thing, you can kind of design around 4 players more often in there, right? Like all kinds of things that could potentially happen. And
we know, Satan said when they started that his thing was paring down and cutting out and refining. So they cut out a lot of things that were pretty advanced. So it's not like they're starting from scratch and everything. They've got a solid base. Right. They've got a lot of content that was decent, various levels on, ready to go. And they've got a massive studio working on that. Working on it. Yeah. So it's not a crazy thing to think they're going to add a fair amount of content quickly.
No, it's not. And I'm not saying this again. Like sometimes I'm saying this stuff out loud. It's like, because I had 2 weeks to kind of simmer down a little bit. And I almost feel like I'm coming on here damage controlling or whatever the kids say. What is it? Capping. I'm capping right now, right? For 343. But I think that's what the kids say. But like you kind of like being so positive on it, and again, it's like, this is why, I was curious about like what Forebear was going to say on that, because at the end of the day, to me is this going to be quality? That's, I think, when you judge it, right? Like the cadence, like it's important, and I think as Halo fans, this is a little bit different for us who aren't used to this live service. They do have, but just realistically stepping back and looking at it, they do have multiple teams working on big things. They don't have all of 343 or like in the past, all of Bungie like working on a DLC, right? It's not, this is a different environment. They got to kind of work on all these things and think about years down the road. And if those things land at quality, and at this point, that's just an if, but if they land at quality and meet expectations, like this thing could, be it sets a different bar. I think it could like over the period of time, if they do it right. And again, there's a lot of ifs, as Nick might say. There's a lot of ifs still, but if they can land these big tentpole contents, Halo now can go from being something that looks like, they're not ready for live service, to something that can set a bar, right? Just because I can't think of another game that has those components all together, that's trying to bring out an ongoing campaign, a Forge, which I guess will probably continue to evolve, and there could be, there's just so much content long term. So that's why I think, I guess my message would be is it's like everybody like Reddit, Halo Reddit, like fucking chill, guys. Like if it comes out and it's not good, Forge comes out, if co-op comes out, it's broken, then let's, they deserve that. We deserve to go, okay, what the hell is going on, guys? But if that stuff, a few months is not, like in no other game, no other AAA game would we judge the developer because they are 3 months delayed, right? Like God of War, if it was delayed a few months, nobody going, Sony Santa Monica, close them
very
down,
much
fire everybody.
They're not doing anything.
Right, yeah, they're fire everybody. What are they doing over there?
There's almost no AAA game that has not been delayed lately.
Yeah,
right. Everything that just came out, like Dying Light, Horizon Forbidden West, Elden Ring, were all either a little bit or massively delayed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. So that was my soapbox. Anybody else?
If I could just like jump on one thing real fast, is
sprinkle a little bit on me.
You say,
Pour some sugar on me.
Oh my god. Would just be that you said something there, which was that Forge would probably continue to change, and that's a thing that I don't think people really appreciate. especially with Infinite as a whole being a live service game. It's like, yeah, people expect multiplayer maps and modes and updates because that's what they're used to getting from Halo DLCs.
Yeah,
it's also going to touch every other aspect. Like, they really did lay a lot of groundwork with the MCC. So over time, it's going to be updates that are at least on par with what MCC was doing, as far as like, hey, here's some new things in Halo 3 Forge. Here's some new things in Halo Reach's Forge. Here's new maps. Here's all new armor. Here's, all of this. But like to such a higher degree, and maybe not right off the bat, maybe Season 6 doesn't see like a complete overhaul of Forge or anything, but I do think it's going to be something that continues to give the game legs. Everyone's got to remember that like this game is intended to be a 10-year platform. And so like you have to dramatically change this thing over time to keep people engaged with it. Otherwise it will be a 10-year platform in the same way that like Halo 3 was a 10-year platform. Yeah, there were people playing it, I guess, for 10 years or whatever, but at what degree? Like at what level of population consistency is 343 or Microsoft at that point happy about it?
Why do they change the map on why do they change the island on Fortnite all the time?
Fortnite,
they change the island because
it's just to keep it interesting,
right? And you have to be careful there too, right? I've heard complaints from people who are like, "Yeah, I don't like the new Warzone map. I'm playing the original one because I don't like what they did with it." So it's like a balance too between like how much do we change and how much can we change and still keep our player base, that's currently playing the game.
Yeah,
I can't wait until Halo Infinite Classic comes out in 12 years. People are like, Season 1 was so much better. I preferred waiting. I liked it when there was no Forge or co-op.
Oh my god! But that's actually a great point, though. This is going to be a Forge that's not one and done, right? Previous Forges, 100%. They worked on it, and then they're done. They're working on the next game's Forge or whatever the team's working on.
No,
this time they release it, and they're going to keep iterating and iterating and iterating. And as someone that doesn't do Forge at all, that's still really damn exciting.
Oh, absolutely! One of the things I'm super excited about coming from specifically Destiny is I can't wait for in like 6 months people to be like, Season 1 was the best season of Halo Infinite. Because like obviously Halo has like its Halo cycle where now people are like, well, Halo 5 was the best fucking Halo game ever created.
Dude, it blows my mind.
It happens even more so and even more quickly in live service games. Like a big argument right now is, what was the best Destiny expansion that's released? Is it the Taken King? Was it Forsaken? Was it the Witch
Curse
Queen
of
now?
Osiris?
You honestly have people that are like, well, Shadowkeep was the best this game's ever seen, and Shadowkeep sucked ass. Like, no, dude, like your opinions are wrong. I don't know what to tell you. I'm really sorry about that. But like, I
love the war mind.
Right? Like, Anna Bay,
No, dude, I feel you, and you're right. Live service games do that cycle, but quicker. Right. With Halo, 100%. It took a few years, but then people started like praising. I loved Reach. I came out the time where I was in high school, and like all my friends were into it, and we had a great time, But like, if I tried talking about Halo Reach online at that time, I'd get eviscerated.
Well, that's what if there was like the social media today that there was with Reach? Because even me, who like was stepping away from gaming, was vaguely aware that people hated Reach. When did that become the greatest Halo of all time? Like when 343 took over, that's what it is.
Halo City purists that are still mad that we haven't gotten an official sequel to Halo Combat Evolved. Like, dude, it's been 20 years. Chill out.
I was speaking with someone who was talking about how they don't like Halo Infinite and Halo 5 wasn't the thing. And I was talking about Halo Infinite a lot. So I asked him up front, I'm like, listen, did you like Halo 4 and 5? He's like, no, I couldn't complete both of them. And I'm like, dude, then Halo's not for you anymore, man. It's been 10 years now. You've liked the original trilogy, you like Bungie's games. Those are still there for you. The series is now moved past whatever the heck that is. Like, and if you don't like it, it's
Bloody Tank Man.
Yeah, I mean, it's
like I said earlier, I am the old school.
Is not my mainstay thing anymore. So like, if the rest of my Halo Infinite career over the next 10 years or whatever is only occasionally dabbling in it when like one of you guys is like, hey, Forebear, do you want to play Halo? Or like if I get the off itch that like, oh man, Destiny PvP kind of does suck today. Like maybe I'll go play Halo instead. You know, whatever, or like, you know, oh man, my PlayStation 7 is broken. We'll go play Halo on Steam, I guess.
Coil wine.
Right.
Yeah, no, for sure. It'll always be there, you know. And all the old games are there too. Damn it! If you really don't like Infinite that much, just play it. Literally any.
If you want to play something with one of the worst characters ever, you go play ODST and you hang out with Dutch.
Man, I still do like the. By the way, I am the old head. CE is still my favorite. By the way,
CE is still great. I still played it once in a while, but
I can't get through
is still.
I mean the multiplayer even actually.
Your opinion
you just
is wrong.
and
I don't care. The Sandbox is really good. All right,
the brilliant thing where you can just have a pistol and kill everything way easier than any other gun. Hey, look at this hunter. Oh, I ducked behind him. He's dead.
Yeah,
It
brilliant.
was awesome.
Just it sounds to me like you don't understand like well understated game design. Let me give you
not a Magnum whore.
14-minute.
Yeah, okay, screw that pistol. By the way, it is the most broken weapon in any Halo series period, and it destroys the entire sandbox and multiplayer. That is all.
Mm-hmm.
Halo 5 still didn't get it right. I wanted my Halo CE too. God damn it!
I have my Halo CE pistol in Warzone.
So I know we've kind of got it's going to be interesting to continue to come back to this. I think this is going to be
it's going to be a short show, Abe. You probably
this is going to be ongoing.
Right?
And you know, like I think like Forebear, to your point, there's a lot of PvE potential in this if they want to bring in the casuals and you know, like we'll see what the Warzone equivalent is. So there'll be a lot of fun things I think in the future to talk about, and you know, we'll see how they bring back the, you know, how they get 4,000 hours out of a Forebear potentially down the road. But in the meantime, you know, there is, like we've said, there's a lot, like this is owned by Microsoft. They got a bunch of other games under the umbrella. Apparently they got a few other studios. So you know, they don't need to if the base drops a little bit to make sure they hit the quality. I think the quality is the most important.
Almost like they've got 60 plus projects in the works.
It's almost like it's almost like they could, you know, it's almost like they're spending a lot of money on gaming and they have other options.
Yeah, well, they spend like 68 point.
I mean, really and truly, what this whole acquisition means is that they're going to slap the word Halo in front of Starfield, and it's going to be a prequel.
Halo Field.
Yeah. That's,
like, speaking of quality, it's like one thing I know, and we haven't talked about this, and I know a lot of people disagree with me here. But people are disappointed with the amount of maps releasing a season 2 because they think that was 6 months worth of content. And if it did take them 6 months to release 2 maps, I'm there with them, right? I don't think it was 6 months. But more importantly, the maps for Halo Infinite, for the most part, are really damn good. They're really well thought out. People to this day are still finding different jumps, different methods of getting across one area to another. Like I think Shyway, there we go. Yeah, just released a video like 3 days ago talking about a jump that like
he's ruining his life, I think is what he said. Yeah. Here's the thing. I think for season 2, the amount of content we're getting, at least like to start with, right? For season 2, the 2 maps, the 3 modes, I think that's fine for season 2. I think that if this is the cadence to be expected every season, I think that it's not enough.
2 to 3 maps.
My own personal
8 maps a year would be all I would want. I've run into so many games that I like playing online PvP that really feel they need to pump out a lot of maps, and then they're not good enough. So if they're very good, it's enough. If some of them are real clunkers, then it's not, because you're going for quality. Fine, you have to hit that quality. But if they don't hit it and you're not getting the quantity, then I mean, just look at Overwatch. Just is chopping out 2 maps right now because no one really liked them. And Overwatch was in this constant, we're just going to keep adding content until they started Overwatch 2. And then they were like, we're never going to add content again. But now they're fixing that whole thing. But they're copying out. You've got to keep quality up if you're going forward. So you got to see what these maps are.
Well, so like to Forebear's point, I think it's like, I think when we talk about it, it's not just looking at the arena though, right? Like, it could be enough if they just want to be Rainbow Six Siege. I do think, this is just my opinion. I still think Microsoft wants Halo to be pretty be that thing.
They
that
want
really
it to fail. Just admit it.
Yeah. Anyways, but no, I would agree with you, Forbear. I think at the end of the day, like long term, they need some drops, and it doesn't have to be every 3 months, but it does need to be that you need to have drops of quality that kind of wow people, that get people talking. And I do think Forge could be that. I do think their Warzone 2 could be that. I do think there's
I'm talking specifically about the map count. Like as someone who plays a lot of arena that watches some of the pro scene, you know what I mean? Personally, I don't want 4 maps a season. I feel like if the quality can be there, sure, but even if the quality's there, it takes time to learn these maps, to learn where the weapons spawn, to learn where people spawn. You know what I mean? That's a big part of playing.
I think as far as like map count goes, right, I think it's almost hard to just like look at the raw numbers here and think about it, because Jesse said 8 maps a year is plenty, and I would agree if that's 8 maps in arena, but it's 8 maps spread across whatever modes they have going at a time. Hypothetically, it's all hypothetical, right? I think 2 arena maps a season, 1 big team battle, and even if they want to like flip that cadence every season, where
I'm perfect
2 big team, 1 arena, I think that works. Because at the end of the day, like each season, they will be rotating maps in and out of playlist rotations. I think the problem with this cadence, if this is to be expected, is we're getting 1 new arena map and 1 new big team battle map, and that's supposed to be that change that keeps players engaged for the season. And coming again, I guess from like a live service game background, it's like, in my opinion, this is certainly not enough content.
No, I'm with you right away. 3 is a good number. 3, either 2 arena or 2 big team battle.
Right. Yeah, I'm not expecting like mythic map pack releases every 3 months or anything like that.
What if they get rid of every map except for launch site, and that's the only one you ever play on?
I like launch site.
I actually had some great games on launch site recently. SWAT is really fun.
I also really
just want to see our Halo
Behemoth.
What if Forge comes out with that? It's so robust that you could. And it has templates that people could whip out, get maps that could fit into the rotation regularly.
I think our perception of Forge being what it was versus what it is about to be in Infinite are 2 like completely different things. The amount of maps that will come out of the community, like content, like what's the word that 343 uses, like created content or whatever. The amount of Forge maps that are about to start showing up in real playlists, is going to be insane. Maybe not right away, but like within a season, absolutely. Like this Forge is insane. Like even the leaked weather effects, that kind of stuff has a huge effect on map feel. And you just like throw a few doors in places, like you can completely change the flow of live fire. You can completely turn, Bazaar into a very different map. If those tools are there for like created content, like community created content, it's going to be unreal. People are going to make maps that like put some of 343's maps to shame. And I don't mean that because 343's maps are bad. I just mean that like you open the potential pool up for level designers up to a few billion people. Eventually you're going to find someone who's good at it.
Well, especially now you got the PC crowd in there, right?
Yes,
right. That changes.
That's not even a slight against console players. Like Forge is just easier.
I'm a console guy. I'm a console.
And they've got a council of people that are constantly working on it right now that will probably have a lot of stuff ready to go pretty early on.
They're definitely going to need to have some kind of playlist or browser selector or something like that when Forge launches. Hopefully they're keeping that in mind and they have it ready.
I don't think it'll be ready when Forge launches.
Yeah.
So I think
we'll be ready there soon after.
I know we're at like an hour and a half coming up somehow on our short show. We haven't even got to questions. So I do think in conclusion, no, I do agree with you, Forbear. Like I do think like 2 maps, and if that was all it was going to be, but even Staten kind of based on what you read.
I have no doubt that future seasons will have more content.
Yeah, but I agree that like it's not going to be enough. Right. But at the same time, we're not expecting this to be all it's going to be. And I think that's kind of the thing. And so now it's just a matter of seeing if they deliver on those expectations, right? For those of us that don't flip out and live,
I think the fracture events are going to get cooler and more interesting. I think in general, each season will see a significant increase in quality from Halo Infinite, not just in the content offerings, but in general, like quality of life as well.
Yeah. And during this season, we're getting their, E3 showcase, so I will probably get something cool.
Oh, well, that's the other thing. The June isn't that interesting? Like their season starts in May. They delayed the co-op to probably after they're probably gonna have some Halo blowout. But anyways,
the Xbox Store will spoil a shadow drop at E3 for something.
I think we're gonna try just so that nobody pees their pants. I think we're gonna try to move the
okay. I was gonna say, you told me that you don't want them to just announce whatever new mode they're working on in this roadmap.
I did. Okay, so I will be honest.
I think that this is only because of the fact that like this first season is as long as it is.
Yeah.
But like this was so lackluster, and I think that they had to set a lot of expectations with like features that they knew people were expecting being delayed a little bit, like co-op or whatever. And delayed isn't the right word, but like just setting expectations for timeline. Like if you're gonna announce a new season, like show me a trailer, like a minute and a half long trailer. Just like show me some new gameplay on the new maps. That's all I want. I know that we're gonna get it. I know that it says it in the blog post that in April we're gonna get all of that. Yeah. But like this blog post landed so flat for me. It was out for 2 days before I knew it was a thing.
Well, to that point, if anybody wonders, did Microsoft think, or did 343 think this is enough for their live service game? They dropped this on a Friday after every podcast was done. It was
like late, man.
That's just when they drop their bad news, is on Fridays. They drop their good news like Monday or Tuesday, right? So so like we know so we'll kind of move past that. But yeah, I agree with you. The communication part of it, I wasn't a fan of either. But again, I think this was like, like trying to like, we're not going to.
And I don't think that this is necessarily a bad way to do it. I think that this was a weaker way to do it. Again, I have no doubt that like as time goes on, they'll get better and better and better at all of this.
Yeah. They'll probably. I think we'll feel something that akin to what we saw at last year's E3. When they really kind of pumped up the multiplayer and things like that. And at the end of the day, if they end up, like I said, if they end up delivering a couple times in a row, then people will start to get okay. They'll be a little bit more patient. But all right, I want to move on. No, that's not going to be patient. Okay, no, Reddit will always be a dumpster fire. If you ever need to indulge in dumpster fires and just breathe the fumes of those, you can go to Reddit, Halo Reddit especially. But let's keep going on, you guys. Real quickly, we won't spend a lot of time on the show, but just we're gonna do our spoiler cast after the show. Coming up, and I'm going in with my tempered expectations, but I want to see
show. Sorry,
for the television show that's coming up there, and we got a week.
1 week. Yeah,
I probably could have gotten into the South by Southwest reveal, man. I live 20 minutes away. I'm so mad I didn't realize
premiere?
It was like this week. Yes.
Oh man.
I can't show the actual trailer, but I'll start going through some still images as I click through the trailer. Look, it's a accurate looking Covenant ship. Things look pretty goddamn accurate overall.
That looks good. That looks solid. It's funny. I was watching March Madness today. I don't know if any of you guys are basketball fans, but I was surprised how many times I saw this commercial kept popping up, the short version of it.
Mm-hmm.
So they are really
it's Paramount Plus's prestige show.
Yeah, they are advertising the hell out of this thing. So
That's an elite.
All-Star show too. All-Star game. Halo was shown a fair bit of times. In fact, it was the trailer. It was the second trailer, not the one that they showed at the Super Bowl, but the one people really liked. The one where it's just all the Paramount characters just humming the Halo theme, and they're like, "What is this? What are we watching?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's Halo." I'm like, "Oh, that was kind of interesting to see." There's a good trailer, by the way. You guys seen this trailer? This final trailer, or whatever.
Very good.
Yeah, the trailer is good. I'll tell you. We talked about this before. I'm still a little bit I still wish it was more. I wish it was canon. I wish it was lore canon. I wish I would have found a little angle there. But I'm going in with an open mind.
Exciting, totally. I think there's something super exciting.
That looks great.
About like not knowing what to expect out of this.
Yeah. Could be
not as far as like quality goes, obviously, but like
and really heavily retconned and constantly redone game and book lore. Versus if you've got a good idea and you do it and you base. So they said they're keeping origins of things, but then working other things in different ways that they think works better for TV, which if they do it right, I think is the better way to go about it, because like there was always that fight between Microsoft's greater lore team and Bungie's fuck your lore, we're just going to come up with this shit on the fly campaign team as they finish things with like a day to go before launch. There was always this disconnect between them, and like just redoing the book, the games would have been terrible. And then trying to make the books work all the way for a completely different medium. It's just, you've got to adapt and change things. And I just hope they did it right.
I think there's a reason why Halo's never been up until now translated to film or television. And it's probably because who'd have thunk like video game storytelling doesn't exactly translate 1-to-1 in other mediums. Even the book adaptation of a Halo CE took a lot of liberties with that story and added a ton of stuff to it, because like it's never going to work just 1-to-1. I think that this is a very interesting way for them to handle it.
And people have to be ready for there to not be nonstop action or nonstop Covenant.
Yep,
that shit's real expensive. And it's
I'm not worried about that.
I think it looks really nice, but there's going to be people that are pissed because like the reviews that have hit. And I've already seen people on our forums being like, oh, yeah, this thing's going to suck, huh? And it's like, no, you've gotten 16 people who reviewed 1 or 2 episodes out of 9, I think. It's like, we don't know. It's 16 people's opinion out of how many millions watch it. It's like just...
Yeah. I mean, it's fair. I mean, it's also fair to be skeptical. I mean, it's not like video game adaptions to TV and movies.
They're always great. Super Mario Brothers
amazing. Yeah, Super Mario Brothers. What else do we got?
I can't wait to see Chris Pratt as Mario.
I mean, even Uncharted. I mean, even if they're fine, that's usually what you get. I think that's been the high end of it, and that's kind of where I start at is like the best have been fine. And even I would even
most video games are just derivative of TV and movies, and then you're like, you're taking something derivative of TV and movies, and then trying to up it to back to TV and movies, and it's just like.
I think the best way to look at it is to find a recipe for something that you love online. Like homemade chocolate chip cookies, shepherd's pie. That's a better example. Throw that into Google Translate into French, and then Japanese, and then Italian, and then back into English. Good luck.
That's a good analogy.
Like it's not gonna work.
I see what you mean, Abe, when you say you're coming in kind of skeptic. Skeptic might be a strong word even. And I'm also kind of like that. We're like, I'm in with an open mind. I'm not expecting the world, right? I'm expecting like a decent time, some fun imagery. Apparently it does respect a lot of the details we've come to know and love of Halo, which is cool.
Origins.
Even if, yes, they have an AK-47. Oh my God, the end of the world. Oh no, they have a Tahoe. Oh, it's over. This shows sorry, that's flipping our Halo bleeding out again. But
well, people are used to like movies that have $250 million budgets and can afford to completely ignore anything and just fully build this. Like the Amazon Lord of the Rings show is going to have Bezos like a tenth of one of Bezos's rockets to pay for their insane fantasy imagery. But when you're doing a TV show on Paramount Plus, which is trying to get big and it's their big prestige show, it's still like, even if you're 10 million per episode, that doesn't buy that much overall compared to what people have gotten used to with like Marvel in the Disney shows, where they can just pump so much in. Hey, a cattail.
Have any of the reviews let slip as to what the duration of episodes is? Is it a 30-minute?
7 hours each. It's crazy.
It's 40. I'm assuming somewhere between 40 to an hour, right? It's usually what it goes for. And 9 episodes total. I know that.
I thought it was 6
Someone in
episodes.
chat might say.
Is it 9?
Yeah, I
It's
thought
9.
it was 9.
I'm
pretty sure.
I'm okay with the character development and things like that. I hope so. That.
Oh no,
I hope
Kenobi's
that
6 episodes.
I hope that
Really?
where it goes with the lore is at least in the ballpark. ish, that's where I remember I was a big book person for Game of Thrones before they came to the TV, and the first 4 seasons were amazing, and then the further they didn't have material, but even when they did have material, they went off the track, and
yet they still hit the ending he's going for, and that's the problem. He can't hit it because he literally made it too big.
I don't want to make it as a Game of Thrones show, but oh my god, that was a disaster. But anyways, they were not fine at the end. They were amazing
fine in the sense that his stories are too big. He can't figure out how to reconcile all of it, and that's sort of the thing with Halo lore. Like if you just go in and you're beholden to all the Halo lore, and you got to make sure it's all accurate, it's a massive pain in the dick compared to if you take bases and you take motivations and you take what things that work for you. Because if they could have kept going with Game of Thrones, and I bet you they could have done fine without him if they went 10 more seasons, but they were kind of done, and they didn't want to keep doing it forever. And it was a ton of money.
D&D.
I think they're always limited by time and budget.
Yeah. There are going to be some growing pains for sure, Abe, I feel, with these episodes. The first few episodes, you're going to watch and you're going to be like, oh, okay. I mean, it's not like the game in this regard, but you got to kind of just get over it. It's kind of a strong word, but my go-to example with the Halo show is Wheel of Time. And I'm probably one of the few people on the internet that actually like the show and has read the books, right? Those two things do not.
See, I read the first book and I did not like what I was watching, so I turned it off. But keep going.
So the Halo's gonna suffer from the same problem where in Wheel of Time, for example, the last episode of the season was adapting the last part of the first book, which was a scene that most people who read the series know that it wasn't written the best. In fact, no one knows what the heck happened, in terms of the writing, but something cool happened with this one specific character, right? That doesn't happen in the show. So I'm watching it and I'm like, when is it going to happen? And then the show ends and I'm like, what the heck? And I was pissed almost. I'm like, they took this away from me. Then I watch it again with knowing that it's going to be a little different, right? And I'm like, it's still a fairly competent episode. The people I watched it with who hadn't read the books, they all had a good time. You know what I mean? So it's you got to kind of change your mindset. And it's tough because it's you're thinking, I'm a Halo fan. I've waited, 10, 15 years for this TV show, movie, whatever, something. Halo something media, right? It should be for me. And then when it doesn't hit that exact, viewpoint.
I know what everyone's going to be pissed on. Yeah. Everyone's going to be furious because the motivation of what the Halo is completely different. What is Halo? Halo is this thing they're all looking for. Instead of it being this random thing they found in the first game, which was then retconned into something Halsey had actually found underneath, the ancient artifact and Reach. So in this, there's different motivations for things that have similar backstories. And I just know there's going to be a lot of people that just don't want
that should be okay. What a random jump or targeted going somewhere, it's fine. End result. By the way, we're all thinking this season's going to end with them seeing Halo, right? I feel like that's probably
it better,
right?
Yeah,
I'd be so mad if they
it is 9 episodes,
mid-season and then pedal about for half of a season.
Yeah, and then if they see, that means
that'd be insane because I saw something somewhere this week that this show takes place before the fall of Reach.
Which makes sense. I mean, Fall of Reach takes place literally a minute before Halo, technically, in terms of
right
the final.
But if this season is the Fall of Reach arc of the show, I think that there's a lot of potential there for them to end it on
them seeing Halo, right?
Hey Cortana, what am I seeing?
By the way,
weird, not Blutana.
One thing I feel like we should mention is this is probably one of the more drastic changes I've seen of the show, and we already know it's here. It was an interview. Is that the chief in the show doesn't remember his childhood. It's foggy, and he's learning it along with us, so they say, which is a pretty big change from how it is in the books. And I'm not 100% sure about it yet, but hey, I'll give it a shot.
I think it's an interesting take. I hadn't seen that yet. If I'm reacting to that just off the top of my head, I think that will play into some very interesting story beats. Stuff that we've started to see a little bit with 343's Halo games, where Chief will reference his childhood. It'll be interesting to be along for that journey with him, I think.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't know what I expected out of Pablo Schreiber's look.
Chief face? Yeah.
I don't know if I expected... Yeah. I don't know if I expected him to have his head shaved or if it would be what
Yeah.
it is, where it's like
He
a
doesn't look
scruffy
like-
beard and short
It's
hair.
just
doesn't
him,
look like
right?
Chief
It's just
to me.
Pablo.
He
Yeah,
doesn't look like
which, like-
what you picture.
I mean, dude's a good-looking guy. I'm all about it. Like, I can't wait to see Chief like be like, "Hey, what's up, Cortana?" Like, do that whole thing.
Yeah,
Honestly, in my head, he was just some white dude, and hey, it fits, so it's good enough for me, man.
well, it's going to be interesting to see how people, gravitate towards
Yeah.
it because, like you said, so like if you are a fan of the source material and that's what's bringing you in, you're going to be a lot more of a stickler towards the lore and the source material. You go back to the Game of Thrones things where it started doing the left to me. The very last scene of season 4, I was expecting Catelyn Stark to come back and from the dead.
Yes. What the heck?
And when she didn't, I was like, that can't be the end.
I was like, yes, that's such a stupid plot thread.
That was not. That was awesome in the books. But anyways, like that from there it was downhill. So yeah, there's going to be that. But I'm going to go. I'm going to do my best. I'm going in with an open mind. I'm just going to watch this as a, as like an alternative.
Angry old man.
What do you call it? The metaverse thing or the alternative universe thing? Multiverse. That's what it is. I don't know. All these verses. It's for the kids. I don't get them verses. I know the core stories, and then everything else is wrong. So,
Did you guys know that Liev Schreiber is Pablo Schreiber's uncle?
Wait, uncle? I thought he was his brother.
Oh, no, it's his brother. That is crazy to me.
Yeah.
What?
And then once you see it, you can't unsee it. You're like, wow, yeah, they look
No,
so similar.
100%.
And Nick Baker is their father.
No, he's a third brother.
Oh man.
I thought about that the other night. I think like one of those thoughts you have is you're like drifting off into sleep. I was like, Nick's gonna get a fat head because he looks like Chief. I was like, what? Like what a random thought. And, like,
he's
Nick
brought it up.
doesn't care?
He already has given me a picture for the podcast on Saturday of him and compared to Pablo Schreiber.
They do look pretty similar. They do look.
Why would I think he wouldn't care about that?
Why do we want Nick? Why do we want to keep allowing Nick to keep getting a bigger head?
When I was watching a movie with Pablo, the first thing I thought was like, "Hey, this guy looks a lot like Nick." This is before we knew he was cast as Chief. I'm like, "Man," and I even messaged him like, "Hey, this guy looks a lot like you, by the way."
So it's your fault. So any I guess we don't need to do too many more thoughts on it because it is we are going to talk about the episodes.
Yeah, we are. For anyone watching, we're going weekly. Every day after the show, Friday in the evening. I'll kick you off if you're being too
if it falls off a cliff, I'm going to be coming in like episode 5, like.
And then wondering why no one can hear you and why you're not showing up on the screen.
And because we're going weekly, we won't stick with our usual 2-week cadence for this show, right?
Yeah. So we're gonna do the spoilers weekly, and then we will have just a regular You Had Me at Halo show. We're gonna just go monthly unless there's some news drops. So that's basically what we're gonna do. While
there will be.
We'll
get the season 2 information sometime in April. So
and then E3 when that happens, I'm sure we'll meet up for a launch of season 2, all of that.
Mm-hmm. There'll be a lot of things going on there. So, all right, cool. So, or Jesse, did you guys you two have those questions from the community up?
I have them up. Do you want to do them though, Soul?
I do not have them up.
All right, then I will start. Good old Collingwood, an XboxEra Patreon, patreon.com/XboxEra. Happy St. Gertrude of Nibbles Feast Day, unofficial patron saint of cats, if you're wondering. How would you compare the recent controversy surrounding the initiative in Perfect Dark to 343 Industries and the path leading to the launch of Halo Infinite and beyond? Good old Collingwood.
Let's repeat that. Wait a second. So how do we compare what happened with Initiative to what happened with 343?
He's talking about their development, it looks like the Infinite's development compared to what we just found out about.
All right. Yeah. I've heard. Okay. So like to put this into context, I think I've heard. The kids in the streets, the Twitter streets, comparing the management. Like somehow there's some correlation there. They're not correlated. We know that there's good. Whether you think that 343 eventually is on track or not, whether the initiative is on track or not. They're completely different situations with completely different needs that were, you on one hand, you had a studio that had an innovative idea of how to be a studio start, and they hired everybody. And then a year later, COVID hit. They never developed any. Obviously, you read all the comments. They obviously lacked a culture, chemistry, rapport, whatever. And so, like, obviously, that doesn't help being in that environment. And they have different challenges. Obviously, different expectations. So it's a whole different thing than a studio with a few hundred people that with a lot of contractors up to 1,000 that are working on multiple segments of a game for a live service. So I don't really put too much overlap at all. I think you have to look at both of those completely separate. That's just my opinion.
You look at the initiative versus 343. 343 is Stewart, taking over and running the biggest name associated directly with Microsoft and Halo. May not be their biggest game anymore, but it is still like their king IP that people think of with Xbox. And you have the initiative, which is brand new, not very big, and rebooting a franchise that was never huge. The initial Perfect Dark did very well. Perfect Dark Zero didn't do anything, and then they went, they've gone how many? Almost 2 decades with nothing. Like, it's just a completely different expectation set. And also the fact that they might have announced the game and the studio in all of this, but there's no expectations on Perfect Dark in comparison to Halo. Halo is this completely different level that Perfect Dark will never reach, no matter how good this freaking game is. It's just a different thing.
Yeah. Well, did anybody hear Jez's checkpoint yesterday? Him and Miles did something together, and he kind of explained it. And for transparency, I think Jez is pretty has a really good track record when it comes to this stuff and hearing from these. But basically, he said that the initiative started off with this idea they were going to be making a lot of smaller type. Their developers are coming in. You had a lot of people that were leaders that were expecting to be able to do a lot of different content. It wasn't going to just be this one big game, right? And then eventually, whoops, there goes my camera again. Eventually, they, Microsoft started to understand there was a lot of hype behind the game, and they realized they needed to make it a big thing that met expectations of a AAA release, and they couldn't just come out with a bunch of smaller content releases, which was kind of the rumor for a while, right? And it sounds like that was pretty much in line with what was actually initially planned, and now they're going to go with more of a traditional content release. But to your point, Jesse, this is like the expectation, there's the initiative is in the news right now, especially with people want to fight about corporations, gaming corporations. And I think it ends up being something that is in the conversation because of that. But nobody, as gamers, like, what are you expecting right now? We don't even have any idea what that re-release is going to be.
It's a first-person spy game. That's all I know.
Maybe, who knows? That could even change, right? I mean, probably. It's probably going to
become the first second-person game ever made. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, you're actually playing as like a squirrel that rides around on Joanna's back, and he's the character you play as while you watch her do really cool stuff.
Oh, that's the Clobro script. Did he work there? Anyways,
no, I think it's interesting how all of this has panned out, right? Like, I think it's important to pay attention to things like this, especially if they're coming out of like, not that this is, but if this was coming from like very negative connotations, right? Like if something at the initiative was inherently wrong, I don't think that's the case. I don't think anyone should think that that's the case. I think that the most important thing right now with this is if Perfect Dark hadn't been announced, if we didn't know what the initiative was working on, would this be nearly as big of a deal as people are making it out to be now? No. I think that there's a lot of weird expectations being placed on it being a revival of an IP that has a very, very niche fan base. I think that this is only good for the game, just like any game delay. Yeah. This is only going to be good in the long term. I think, like I said, I think it's important to pay attention, make sure that like there's no like weird negative connotation that this is spurring from, that there's no malice behind any any specific group of people or specific persons leaving studio.
Yep.
I think as long as everything is amicable and everything is moving along smoothly, had this not even been announced, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. So I think that we should look at it as this is just a part of game development, especially with us still being in the at the end of a pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And I use very lightly, obviously. Here in Texas, it's like it never happened.
Sorry.
It doesn't matter how bad the cases are either. They just pretend it didn't happen.
Oh, 100%. But yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on it. Is I don't think it's nearly as big of a deal as some people are making it out to be.
So you don't think it's dead?
Certainly would not be. If you want me to give my like hard and fast opinion on it, is I think whatever the project was is probably dead. I think that they're probably starting from scratch. I think that would make way more sense to have a whole new studio come in to help with the game, to have everyone starting on the same level playing field, than to have a whole team have to learn whatever engine that they were working on this with. I think that's the ideal situation. If that means that this game is 3 or 4 years out still, okay. They shouldn't have announced it when they announced it, in my opinion.
I'm curious about the timeline, because Crystal Dynamics is not a small studio. It's not a nobody studio. Can Microsoft take them for like 4 years? You know what I mean? Like, I'm curious what the timeline for this game looks like it's going to be.
That's probably opens up a whole nother bag of ifs.
We do have 2 more questions.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, no, it is. I know it is like the hot topic, and I wish I would have saved another half hour, because that would probably. I do have a lot of opinions on what I've kind of heard about the initiative, and at the end of the day, here's the gist of it. That was a studio that started up. They wanted to do something different. They brought in a guy that was very successful, who brought in people that were successful, but they all were used to working in person. And yes, we've read everything. They don't get it. There was creative differences. Eventually, a lot of people left when they pivoted over to Crystal Dynamics, but nobody could have planned to build a studio, especially one that's not following a template. And then all of a sudden, the landscape of gaming, not just the pandemic that affected everybody, so we talked about that before, but it's also the gaming industry heated up. They couldn't, all the support studios that they were going to be relying on, a lot of support studios, a lot of contractors. If everything that we've heard is to be believed, a lot of that stuff dried up, and so they went to Crystal Dynamics as a plan B, which seems like it's a good plan B. We'll see what happens. It's going to be years before we see what happens, but it's a completely different thing. I wouldn't say there's zero correlation. 343 has their own, has had their own challenges and has their own, situation to kind of, work.
That's what the question was.
343 had a creative director leave Halo 4's project in 2002. Yeah, 2 of them. I think, Halo 4 is not a great game in my opinion, but I don't think it's a bad game by any means.
It's a lot better than ODST or
I'll Jesse's opinion. Jesse's opinion is wrong on this, so we won't even go down this. Oh, and Daniel would probably back him up, but Daniel's not here. But Daniel's in the chat, by the way, everybody. Daniel was not one of the people that was killed off by John for telling him anything about Forge. So he's nursing some injury right now. So I hope you get better.
All right, we want the next one.
One side quick point was just the 343 comparisons kind of ring weird for me when we literally had that tell all, oh my god, I'm gonna tell you the real scoop at 343 Jason Schreier piece, and it was they had trouble, they turned it around. So I'm not sure how we're comparing either of those, to be honest.
It's the same old story of had a bunch of contractors and Microsoft won't let them hire them. That's the issue with a lot of first party.
That is a thing, but it wasn't.
That's a whole other episode. Let's move on.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on. But that is definitely a different.
And the one thing that Phil becoming CEO of gaming, and I really hope it can change, as he's got so much higher a position now, is them finally convincing Microsoft to let them hire people instead of constantly churning through contractors.
It puts such a damper.
They get to do their
they do
get
have
to
a
do
lot
their
of
marketing. They get to do so much more now that I'm hoping that's also a big part of it.
To be fair, they do have a lot of postings for jobs. It is very difficult right now to hire, from what I hear. I hear the demand is like from people in the industry. It's not like just post it and you're going to fill it these days. So it's going to take time. But yeah, I agree with you, Jesse. I hope that they that's the other thing that helps you become more efficient over time is when people know how to do things and you don't have to train them in.
Oh, you can look at a studio like Naughty Dog, which puts out a beloved The Last of Us 2, and they're still, almost 2 years now waiting on the multiplayer because so much of their studio left the moment that game went out. They had their bonuses for staying on a few months, and now they're just constantly rehiring, trying to build back up so they can actually finish some of their other projects. It's like you gotta find that balance.
Yeah, definitely.
Few places crunch as bad as them.
Next.
All right, we have a question from Mortania. Mort in the chat. Hello, guys and cats. In what way, if any, do you think the TV show will influence the game going forward? Hugs, Mort. If I could say something real quick,
go for it.
I think they'll add in, if they got like unique armor sets or something, those will come into the game as DLC. That would probably be the main way.
So here's a quick question. This has already happened. The TV show has already influenced Halo Infinite in a way or two, which I read in an interview. What do you guys think? How do you think it influenced it? It's not something obvious.
I don't know.
It's small, but it's
I suck at trivia. So
to make the TV show, right? They had to fully flesh out this universe, right? And to do so, they had to create fictional companies for weapons and ammunition. So in Infinite, you have the fictional company's name that they made for the show, their name on like the ammo boxes and stuff like that. So it's already kind of influencing it, like from one way or another. It's kind of interesting. Good question.
Well, a lot of those companies have been around since at least 2012, if not sooner. Lethbridge Industries is a big one that I saw in one of the trailers. Has been in Halo since 2011.
And they've been working on the show probably that long.
I mean, fair, dude. Yeah. Hey, when was Halo Chronicles? 2008, 2009?
Legends?
Yeah, this has been a long-running Steven Spielberg project.
The Peter Jackson project.
Halo Chronicles. That's what it was called? I remember you're right. Oh my god. I remember the Neil Blomkamp one that was supposed to come out in 2008 or something? Ugh.
Yeah, they got reworked into District 9.
Good movie though, so hey, I'm happy.
Yeah. I mean,
I think if they do work it back, if there is some idea that's new to the show that does fit into the Halo universe, then that might be a cool thing. It'd be nice to see that.
You mean a cool blonde woman that works for the Covenant?
No, I'm not a fan of that, by the way. But we won't get into that.
Yeah, I'm going with open mind. We'll see how
was
that
your
goes.
ex-wife blonde?
Yeah. No. But maybe I could see my ex-wife, teaming up with the Covenant though. No, I'm just kidding. Kidding.
Yikes. No, I mean Jesse said it. Like the only thing that they're going to do is put in like a bonkers amount of cosmetics. That
he look like Bokeem Woodbine.
Armor sets, skins for weapons and vehicles and stuff like that. I wouldn't
maybe even character models into Forge.
I mean, cool. Like character models, customizable stuff in Forge. Emblems for like, hey, you watched the whole first season. Here's an emblem. Or like
you get a plus sign.
Here's your exclusive like Pablo Schreiber green armor coating.
A slight
and somebody who watches XboxEra just calls the file like Nick dot whatever as a joke with a Pablo Schreiber face.
I do think if some of the characters really take off, because sometimes a TV show comes out and some characters that no one expects to just become really popular. If that happens 2-3 seasons in, I can see them bringing characters in.
They got to fix some of the haircuts then.
Yeah.
Or spiritual versions of those characters.
Exactly.
Right?
Maybe an entire battle pass 3 years from now, assuming the show's going strong, based on the show. Stuff like that.
All the kids are going to want to dress as a Prophet of Truth. They're going to read that Shang Tsung lore. Those Shang Tsung love to fuck, and people are going to like that.
That's a puppet.
Read the lore on them, man. Before they got de-evolved, they were all about fucking. That was their entire thing.
We just went off.
They were super strong warriors with like. They were all about that. You're not a real Halo fan if you don't want to bang a Shang Tsung.
That's true.
Good question.
All right, next question.
All right, we want the last one from we got two. There's one's been added. All right, so Andrew Schmidt, Halo Gaming 08, has asked us, what do we think Season 2 of the show will focus on? And I think if we agreed, like, if they find Halo at the end of Season 1, obviously Season 2 is all about the beginning of a fight over Halo.
And it's going to end with them finding the Flood. That's my personal opinion.
Oh, they better have the Flood. Yeah, I mean
it's on Halo.
So if they don't have to go one to, I've accepted the fact they're not going to go to 1-to-1, but this eventually better be on Halo, and there better be a Flood, or then I will.
Is the Flood what you call it when you really need to go to the bathroom after we finish one of these?
Maybe. But anyways,
I think we're in good agreement on that one. And there's one last one from, as Nick calls him, Jesse Brother. Greetings, Abe, Soul, Jess, and Andy Milanakis. My question this week is, do you want a Warzone-like PvE mode to come to Infinite? And if so, what changes to it would you want, if any?
I mean, oh God, I made a video about this months ago. I mean, I really and truly, I want what I called Firefight Infinite. Like, I just want a really interesting take on Firefight where it's more cooperative, so more players on a team, objectives interspersed throughout, much larger, linear, wide but linear maps, kind of like what we saw from the Halo Reach Firefight maps, that you are totally not required to do. Things like plant this bomb here. If it doesn't happen, then you just don't get those points. You don't fail. It is still an infinite lives based. How many rounds can you survive of this thing? With cool little interesting things that'll kind of shake up the gameplay a little bit once you interact with an objective to get that objective started. Then harder enemies spawn in to try to keep you from being able to succeed in that objective. And if you do it, then you get cool like bonus loot, more powerful weapons, some upgrades, armor mods, or whatever. What's the word? Equipment. Things like that. That's what I'd like to see out of a PvE mode for Infinite.
And with the way that they've got Forge set up, they have the scripting capabilities, I think, for both themselves and for people to be able to do it. And that's one of the first things I thought of was like how much you can expand Warzone over the just nonstop waves and then going after enemies in different areas.
Like, if you wanted to give me 6 players that could like sit down and play through this, even if, like you said, just like a Forge made, fan made game mode, I'm like, cool, that sounds great to me.
Yeah. Well, I think there was something there with the initial Warzone. I was not a fan of it, but the reason I wasn't a fan of it was because of the dang rec packs. You know, the idea that everyone is, do I want to save this or spend, like, that bothers me, especially a player like myself.
Spend it and immediately die
instantly.
Yeah, you know, it's like me. I have the same problem playing RPGs. You know, when you have things like I usually end the game with like all my health potions.
Did you know Elden Ring has consumables? I didn't know that.
It's like people who end Elden Ring with 75 rune arcs.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I'm on the path of right now. I haven't spent a single rune arc yet, and
they're consumable. I don't have unlimited numbers. I can't use.
It's like I don't know what I'm going to need it for. Like like maybe there's some really important thing I'm going to need it for, so I don't want to spend it. So that kind of messed it up for me personally. It could just be a me problem, but I think there's potential, with PvE, and even blending the PvE and the PvP together. There's potential there. So I don't know. We'll see. Somebody a lot smarter than me is going to put something together, and we'll see if it's good.
Really quick, I guess I feel like personally, it can't be Warzone. It can't be Warzone. In the sense that Halo 5 had Warzone. It didn't really take off. Yes, Halo 5 had problems in terms of like its player base and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. But if the mode was really that playable or whatever the word is, then it would have taken off, So whatever they're working on right now, Warzone 2.0, whatever it is, I don't know. I mean, I liked Warzone, but I also didn't like certain aspects of it.
It lacked a flow. Like there's something off with the flow.
There were times where it felt too slow sometimes. The map was too big even. And like I'd go a while without meeting anyone. It's just, I have no idea.
I think something that would be interesting would be a nice cross between Warzone and Invasion.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
But who knows what the future has in store.
Yeah.
Infinity.
I hope they just blow us away with a mode that's a big mode that's got a Halo spin on it, but it's I thought they did a really good job, expanding the big team battle from 8 to 12. They figured out how to keep a really good flow, and the flow to me is for Halo to feel like Halo. I feel like it needs to keep a flow. If it ends up being herky jerky, and I think that's what the Warzone felt like. It was like it did feel like it didn't have a proper sort of flow to it. It just I don't know. It's hard to explain, but you know it if you're a Halo player.
I guess and I think it'll live and die in its map, huh? I feel
it will. The and the way they design the objectives, but the way they kind of keep everything going, keep you battling and things like that. So I do look forward to like a bigger mode, and I think that could be the thing that brings a lot of the mainstream and all of our friends that are not as hardcore.
I mean, remember, guys, it doesn't have to be like this game has this killer mode. It's as long as the mode takes off, then it doesn't matter what game it's in. We saw that. I mean, historically, right? Like Fortnite or whatever.
That's true. That's true.
I think 343 more than has the talent. I think that they have the potential. I think that they have an amazing groundwork laid with Infinite's Sandbox, Jesse.
That's the right word. I don't know what Jesse's problem is, but keep going.
No, I mean, I get it. Whenever Jesse pointed it out the first time a while back now, he was like, you guys say Sandbox too much, and I listened to us say it like 120 times that episode. So,
that's the right thing when you're talking about Halo. It is the thing that's the thing that is really good about.
Yeah, lazy.
No, that's boring. Nobody wants to say tool set Sandbox. It's Sandbox.
But no, box when you say Sandbox, so you're just constantly making people think of cat shit. So that's on you.
I'm thinking of like a sandcastle and like the pail and like water.
The tools that you have to play with in there.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it's going to be 90 degrees tomorrow, and I hate living here.
Oh, I wish I had 90 degrees.
Dude, today was amazing weather, man. It was like 70 or something.
Index.
Yeah, it was.
You went outside for 5 minutes, Abe. You would turn into a lobster. Your skin would be pure red.
No, I'm made for that stuff. My people are made for that weather.
Mine too, and I still feel I'm mostly Lebanese, and I still freaking Sicilian, and I freaking crisp up.
Oh my goodness! But yeah. So I've lost track. But no, you're right, Forebear. Though at the end of the day, like they do have the Sandbox. It is the balancing of everything, the way it feels. We've talked about the foundation before. It's still there, regardless of all the retconning that your friends over at Soul that you visit online over at Reddit, no matter what they say, that's still there. Everybody,
the LNG army.
I lose like 200 karma every time I go to that subreddit.
It was near unanimous. Like even non-Halo fans, even haters, everybody was like, "Yeah, this plays really, really well." So there's going to be a foundation there. So many things they can do with that. So we'll just have to wait and see how they balance it, how they
just time, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So you think we'll see something on E3 though? Halo?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, I do too.
Not to. Yeah. I mean, they might start spreading these things out eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Like have a Halo
I
thing.
imagine later this year and starting next year, especially when there starts being that Xbox is putting out 10 or 12 games this year. They're going to start spreading it out.
But even when they do, don't you think they would still want to bring Halo to the main stage? It's kind of both. Like bring their Halo fans there, and then also bring all the rest of them.
I could definitely see it being. They've got an Xbox show. They've got a Bethesda show. They've got a Activision Blizzard show. Like they could literally have their own E3.
Yeah.
They might not do it all at the same time, but they could have all of those companies doing all of their own shows.
They could.
Yeah.
Right.
Or they
it'll be interesting to see if what kind of content Halo shows off at E3. If it's Forge, which it very well could be, or if they're like, hey guys, here's Forge and maybe a tease for the first like Halo Infinite expansion. I don't think we see it this year. I think that it's
they
probably
had offensive bias. They cut them out. I
wonder. That's I was gonna mention this earlier. When you guys talked about the blog post and how it kind of didn't hit that hard, for me, just knowing that Forge is releasing this year was enough for me to be like, whew, okay. all right, like I'm happy with this, because a part of me really thought they were going to take their time with it even more, and like I got pushed to next, but August, that's not too far.
If it comes out this year, like that is a thing, because there had been rumors, right? Like people.
It should have been there at launch.
So yeah, hopefully it does make it this year. I think it's going to make a huge difference. So.
Yeah, I'm hoping after they took this long to release that blog post that whatever dates they have, they're pretty damn confident with.
Yeah.
Which they actually mentioned multiple times. They're like, we want to do a career progression thing. What two things they mentioned. One was queuing up again, a reconnect button, and another one was something else. And they're like, both things we want to do, we just haven't scoped them out yet. Right?
Did they say when season 3 starts?
It'd be so nice.
They didn't.
So
but I'm
nice
assuming
if they
3
had
months.
a reconnect button. Like one of the very frustrating things in a game that's not even set up similarly for its matchmaking. Like Destiny is still peer to peer. But it happens occasionally. Like a connection will drop, and Destiny has like end game level PvP modes. It sucks, or it used to suck when you'd get disconnected and have no way to get back into that game.
Yeah.
I think 343 has a great idea on their hands to like, scope that out, like you said.
Yep. That should definitely happen at one point. Man, there were two things. What was the other thing? I don't remember.
No, it's
champion rank. That's it. That's coming eventually. Yeah, sorry.
So is that all the questions for today?
Mm-hmm.
I'm mad that Trav called me Andy Milanakis. Like I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna look what that is.
I'll never be on this show.
Yeah, he did say in chat that was payback for threatening to time him out.
Of course.
All right. Well, this was a short show.
Yeah.
This time it
hours
was you,
and
Jesse,
14
that
minutes.
jinxed us. Jesse's like, oh, I guess we're just gonna have another
Jinx.
show.
I always say it's going to be a long show.
How long was it
will
last
always
week?
Be a long one.
Pretty short. I think like an hour 20.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Man,
Yeah,
we got to get an episode going where Abe isn't on it and it's just me, so that we can see if like we're both bad luck for like show duration, or if it's just.
I think
I'm sure that it's just Abe.
We're just
if you
gonna
go
have
back
to
through each show. Abe averages about 2 hours of talking, and then the rest of us do like maybe 20 minutes. So.
I did my fair share tonight.
Sorry.
Yeah,
No,
Abe, how
okay.
dare you talk on a podcast?
I know. I got to get better at that, at not talking as much. But anyways, I think it was a really good show. Good conversations, guys. I had a lot of fun, and
That was okay.
we covered a lot more than I thought we would, but it has.
How about
has
this,
been a
Tunic?
little bit, huh?
Nothing.
Oh. So I think it's time for our sign off, right? Do we have anything else? All right.
Yep, that's
Jesse,
it.
I think
Yeah,
you're
so
going to
thank you everyone who watched. The best way to support us outside of the normal liking and subscribing on here is patreon.com/XboxEra. It is by far the best way to show your support. Anything from $1 up onto $1,000 if you're really nice, but even $1. If you just do $1, every little bit helps. The more we get on there, the more this has a chance of becoming a real job that we get to do way more often. And thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next Friday for Spoilercast Episode 1 for the Halo TV series.
What time were we
Paramount+.
thinking? The same time, 8 o'clock?
Probably 8 o'clock. I was figuring 8. We try 7 and no one shows up till 8, so 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Also, our 8 is now.
They'll be shorter because it's just talking about the show, and we'll shut up Abe, and he won't be able to.
I imagine this first one's probably going to be a little long, but yeah.
Yeah. We'll get a cadence on them, and we'll still let you know on when we do like 1 or 2 regular shows during the show's run. Just, video game shows and not TV ones. But yeah, we will see you guys next Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, which is +4 because we went to daylight savings time before you did Europe. But thank you everyone who joined us, and except for Abe. And we'll see you later. I mean, thank you, Abe. That's what I meant to say.
See ya.
See you guys.
All right.